Hello friends, this is Growl. Prepatch has just dropped. Scrambling to fix my UI and look at talent trees just like everyone else. And I open up the spec trees and the talent trees and I'm thinking, whoa, this is a little bit off. And I was about to change all of my different talent trees for all my different characters, and I thought this would be a great idea for a video. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each healer. Unfortunately, Evoker is not available yet. And we are going to talk about some of the new talent stuff, some stuff that I would change. And for starters, we're starting with Mistweaver. So generally speaking, the way the talent trees work is the strongest, best talents are going to be near the bottom. And so we kind of need to plan out where we're going based off of what we can get at the bottom. The downside is, unfortunately, because we're only level 60, we're missing 5 points in each of the trees. So we're not going to be able to reach our full build that we would get in Dragonflight. However, we are going to have a lot of other nonsense like legendaries, Covenant, Conduit, all that stuff. In this video, I'm going to try and be a little bit more practical. I'm going to talk about things that will hopefully get you set up for Dragonflight and things that are useful for that. I'm sure there will be some very strange synergies and glitches and weird combinations. That's not necessarily my goal, is to hack the system in this video. It's more so just to get you right on the right track about thinking about the talent trees. So first, let's talk about Mistweaver. Mistweaver, of all the capstones, they're all not so good. However, the Windwalker capstones, Resonant Fists and White Tiger statue are, I think, our best options for Mythic Plus. So we're going to have to navigate down here somehow. I'm going to take a few points out of here, some points out of here, and then figure out how we want to get down here. So we have Eye of the Tiger, which gives us some damage on Tiger Palm. We have Diffuse, Dampen, Improved Touch of Death. These all look like good talents. I'm going to remove all the Expel Harm talents for now. Let's see. Let's go with Improved Touch of Death. Let's go with Dampen, Diffuse, and Eye of the Tiger. Let's just see what we can get. So, out of all three of these, Windwalking, Fatal Touch, Escape from Reality, I think we want to choose either Windwalking or Fatal Touch. Let's just take Fatal Touch because we like to do big damage as Mistweaver. We need one more point down here, unfortunately. So we're going to have to figure out, where do we get that point? Here we have Chi Wave. We actually want Chi Burst instead. And now we have Fort Brew and Improved Fort Brew. I don't think that's going to be super important for us. Considering that we have Dampen and Diffuse, I'm almost going to say let's just not even take Fort Brew. And unfortunately, now we see what happens. Our tree breaks apart because we don't have enough subsequent points. And this is going to happen a lot, and you're just going to have to kind of pick and choose. However, we have this talent right here, Rising Sun Kick and Spinning Crane Kick damage. This talent is excellent. So we definitely want 2 points in here. Then we're going to go back down with Fatal Touch, and let's just leave this point for flexibility, even though we're going to get that eventually. So now that we kind of got the base idea, let's start back from the top. We want Rising Sun Kick, Tiger's Lust. We don't care about Disable. We'll take Reduced Damage, Improved Roll. We love that second charge. We don't necessarily need this. Expel Harm's Healing Increase, not super powerful. However, increased healing taken, do we even want this? These 3 points don't even seem particularly useful. Is there anything else we can get, though? Let's start with this for now. So now we can remove poison and disease here. Oh, improved damage dealt by 2%. Okay, we're very happy switching these 2 points over. Now we have access to our interrupts as well. And now we can go, now we're pretty happy with how our tree's looking here. Now we are going all the way down here. So notice we take a lot of damage focused talents. However, we still have some nice stuff. We have Dampen and Diffuse, a combo that we couldn't take before. We still have most of our utility. Notably, we have every 10 seconds, we have an instant cast Vivify, and we have our roll talents, which is nice. I think reduce cooldown on paralysis. This does not seem particularly useful. Where could we put this point? Let's go Chi Torpedo. Instead of getting reduced cooldown on paralysis, let's take Chi Torpedo, because we haven't got to play with that very often. And I really like what we did here. So we kind of ripped apart this tree. Our build is going to be a lot higher damage. And as a Mistweaver, when we're Fist Weaving, we're going to be healing through our damage anyway. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Alright, let's look at our spec tree. Spec trees are going to be hard because there's lots of juicy stuff down here. So the build that everyone's playing is Rising Mist with Feline Stomp. However, we can't get both of these, unfortunately. We're gonna have to try to get Rising Mist. What I think I would do is go from this talent right here, reduce cooldown on Yulon. I was kind of liking this. And then I will go Misty Peaks and then into Rising Mist right here. To me, Mistweaver just isn't the same without Rising Mist. We don't have enough points, so now we're going to have to start ripping stuff apart here. I think we're going to take out Focus Thunder. We're going to switch this to Ancient Teachings, and now we have Rising Mist. So now we have our basic fist-weaving playstyle. I will note that Ancient Teachings is a talent point here, but it's also legendary. And chances are, if you're a Mistweaver, you probably have that legendary. So we can actually take that point out and put this into either Secret Infusion or Focus Thunder, depending on what we want to do. I think either one of these is pretty good. I have a lot of fun with Focus Thunder, so we'll take this. But it might actually be better to take this. So now let's start. Now that we kind of have this, again, the structure, let's go up the tree and see what we're missing. So we got Enveloping, Renewing, Essence Font, Life Cocoon, Thunder Focus, our Vivify Cleave. So what's going on here? Renewing Mist has 2 charges, good. Rising Sun Kick applies Renewing Mist, good. This is a great talent. Okay, we got a Revival. We have our Vivify Critical Strikes and Rising Sun Kicks reduce the cooldown of Revival. We don't care that much about this. However, we do have... Okay, so this is going to break our tree. That's okay. But we do have this right here, right? This is a new spell called Zen Pulse. And again, this is just going to keep increasing our damage. And this gives us an AoE damage ability we can use every 30 seconds, which is really, really nice. So now we need to go back down here. We'll take our Yulon. We'll take our Enveloping Breath. And now let's see. We need to spend 6 more points up here. So let's look at some of the talents I don't have. We're using Life Cycles. Personally, I don't press Enveloping Mist too much as a Mistweaver unless I'm in my Yulon. But even in Yulon, you love having Mana Tea. So I think I'm going to take Mana Tea there. Let's see. Renewing Mist has a chance to immediately spread when it's cast or when traveling to a new target. This seems like a great talent to help keep our Renewing Mist up. So we're going to take 2 points in here. And then increase Enveloping Mist duration and Jade Wind. We don't care too much about this. What is this one right here? Yulon's Whisper. This is kind of a cool talent. This actually does quite a bit of healing. How do we get down here? Can we do it? Your Enveloping Mist heal the target for 1% of their max health each time they take damage. Not particularly useful, but maybe we can do that. So Uplifted Spirits, Mists of Life. Essence Font Initial Heal. Oh wow, Teachings of the Monastery. Okay, we kind of want this. I didn't realize, so we need to put a talent point in here to get this. Chances are we're probably not going to make it down to Yulon's Whisper. So now we kind of want to figure out another plan. I don't see anything that looks particularly appealing, to be honest. Generally speaking, what we're actually going to want to do in Dragonflight is we're going to want to come down this way. And to get Feline Stomp with these points, like, we'll have to suck it up and take either Nourishing Chi. Maybe let's just do that anyway. You know, why not? Again, we're practicing, right? So we're going to take Yulon's Whisper, and we're going to take Nourishing Chi. We're buffing our Life Cocoon a little bit, which is okay. And what's left? Uplifted Spirits. We could take Uplifted Spirits. I feel like I'm missing a talent, probably. This one can buff our Zen Pulse, but it's not particularly useful. And, yeah, so let's go, I would say Font of Life or Uplifted Spirits. Let's go Uplifted. And now we have our tree, right? Now we take the Reduced Cooldown on Yulon. We'll take our Misty Peaks. We'll take our Rising Mist. And we have 1 extra point. Again, I already have the Ancient Teaching Legendary, so I don't need this. And I'll put this in Focus Thunder. And bam! Now we have a real tree that we actually like. And I think this tree is pretty applicable to Raid and M+. Equally. The thing that I'll say about Raid is some of these DPS talents, like this, for example, is pretty junky in Raid. So in Raid, you may want to look to go down this way. Actually, in Raid, I would probably, I believe, go down this way. So I would remove all 5 of these points, probably, and maybe even Eye of the Tiger right here, and then I would go all the way down here and just... You don't need Jade Serpent statue, but I would definitely go for all the way down here for these healing bonus talents, if I was to Raid. And then this would be my Mythic Plus setup. Alright, well that's Mistweaver. A little bit longer than I expected, but hey, you know, we're talking about talents and seeing what's going on in Prepatch. Let's check out our Druid now. I have no idea, to be fair. I just logged in, I fixed my UIs. I have no idea what the Prepatch builds are, so I don't have any plans. We're freeballing it completely. You can see I don't even have a build set up. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so let's see what's going on with Druid. Very unfortunate because Druid has so many good points down here. So in a raid setting, or if you just care about HPS, this bottom part looks great here. However, when you care about damage, Nature's Vigil is pretty dang strong. I would consider dropping 1 point here and getting Nature's Vigil, just for a little bit of extra damage. You sacrifice a small amount of healing. And so now, the big part about the Druid tree that we need to consider is there are 3 paths that you want to go, and you can really only take one of them. So the first path here is going for Skull Bash. This is a kick. The second path is going for Typhoon, and the third path is just going for damage and going down for Protector of the Pack. This path I was actually really liking during Dragonflight. However, we don't have the points to go down here. So this path is completely obsolete. So we have to decide if we want to go for a kick or if we want to go for a Typhoon. And let's be honest, we're not really used... We've used Typhoon our whole lives as Druids. We haven't really used kick much. So let's try and go for a build that uses kick. And so we're going to need to figure out here. First of all, I'm going to take these improved bark skin and verdant talents out, and I'm going to go down here. It's quite expensive to get a kick. We'll take natural recovery. We'll take our sunfire talents again. We'll take wild growth, soothe, and stampeding roar. Unfortunately, we would love to skip out on soothe sometimes because, you know, unless there's an enrage, this is kind of a useless talent. However, Stampeding Roar is so powerful that we need to go through Soothe, and in pretty much every situation, Stampeding Roar is going to be worth it. Now we have 1 point left. And what do we do with this 1 point? For cat weaving purposes and Mythic Plus, I would be tempted to take Rake. I would actually not have Frenzied Regen. Actually, I would always take Rake. We do not want Frenzied Regen. I don't know how that got there, but hey, you know, we're learning. You got to be careful with these starter builds. Okay, so now we still have 1 more point we need. Let's look at some of our options. I love Wild Charge. If you don't feel as comfortable using Wild Charge, you can take Feline Swiftness for just a little bit movement speed, but I think Wild Charge is definitely better than movement speed. In a raid scenario, I also think just taking Improved Bark Skin or something defensive is an okay option too. And then let's go back down for our strategy here. So we'll take Improved Rejuve, we'll take Vortex and Innervate, and Vigil, and we'll take our Lycara's Teachings, and I'm happy with this. This is really good. And again, if you decide that you don't want to play the cat weaving playstyle, you can scrap this whole part of the tree. You can go down this way and take Typhoon. And if you don't want either of them, in theory, we can use these points to kind of work down this part of the tree and then get down here. However, not something that we can do now unless we want to give up some valuable nodes. Okay, so now let's look at our class tree. This one's going to be hard. I'm actually not sure. So first of all, I love Flourish. If you're struggling with tank healing or single target healing, you can take Verdant, but I wouldn't give up Flourish. I also don't particularly like Embrace the Dream. Excuse me. I'm actually a big fan of Adaptive Swarm. I think in Mythic Plus, Adaptive Swarm is very, very, very powerful, and I would be taking this in almost every situation. And here, I'd probably take Convoke. I like this setup here. We're not done. I don't know why I pressed save. This is probably the setup I would use for Mythic Plus right now. Another option is if you have one of these Covenants. It's silly enough, but I would probably play like Kyrian or Venthyr and then take all 3 of the Covenant abilities. But if you want to play one of these Covenants, you can remove this stuff and come down this area and take some of these talents as well. Photosynthesis is down here, which unfortunately we can't really get with this build. You know, one thing we could do again, right, if we were Necrolord, we can take these 2 points out, come down here, get Photo, and then just have the Necrolord stuff anyway. But, you know, this is stuff that we're going to have to take in Dragonflight for now. Definitely there's going to be some way more optimized builds depending on what Covenant and Conduits you're taking, but I'm kind of assuming that we don't have any of those. So now let's go up. We have Flash of Clarity, Omen of Clarity. Personally, I wasn't really liking these talents that much. I was kind of under attack for not running them. Definitely we want to switch to Cenarian Ward here. I like the bonus to regrowth, or Nature Swiftness. I guess they're both bonuses to Nature Swiftness. We have Grove Tending. I kind of like this setup here. I would say you could also sacrifice Clearcast Regrowths and take Waking Dream. I'd imagine they're probably comparable. Okay, let's look at what we have here. So we have Soul of the Forest, Cultivation, Improved Bark Skin. So this is a tough one. This is a tough situation because we can't really get too many talents here. We're pretty locked with what talents we have. We have, hold on, so we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can't remove any talents right here. How do we free up points to go further into the tree? Not quite sure. I think we might just be stuck with this, to be honest. Wild Growth heals another target we don't care about. The thing that I'm most confused about is I was running Inner Peace on beta, and I don't know how I accomplished this. Kind of looking at my points here. Maybe I didn't go all the way down here, but this looks like something I would be okay with. Unfortunately, we have to spend a lot of points in this row right here, even though these talents we don't necessarily like, because we want to get down here. I guess we don't need this one, right? We don't need double life bloom. Maybe we skip out on this one. Maybe we run short cooldown on Tranquility, and then can we get another good point somewhere? Regrowth healing over time is increased. Ooh, I like Verdancy. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm liking this a lot more. Okay, so now we have something that looks like this. So now we lost out. Yeah, I was wondering what was going on there. So if you get down here and you can get the double life bloom talent, I think this is pretty powerful. The increased mastery. However, I don't know how powerful this is. I don't know if this is worth 2 points, especially if you're running a no mastery build. If I was raiding, so some things that I would change if I was raiding, generally speaking, the way this tree looks, if you are doing Mythic Plus, you kind of want to go towards the bottom left, and if you're doing raid, you kind of want to go towards the bottom right. So, for instance, Power of the Arc Druid is not so bad for raid. Nurturing Dormancy can help with some of your ramps. Luxuriant Soil also helps keep rejuves up. Reforestation is good. Like, all these talents are good for HPS, but not particularly useful for Mythic Plus, in my opinion. So this is probably what I would start with. I think this is a tree that has actually a lot of options, given that you only have so many points down here. There's lots of different ways you can play this, so I definitely don't think you're wrong if you're playing it a different way. Alright, let's check out our Paladin. He still hasn't been renamed. After they hand out all the Season 4 titles, I'm probably going to move all my guys over and rename them Sargeras with my guild. Okay, so now we have Paladin. So first of all, when I'm looking at the class tree, I want Mad Paragon. I don't know exactly how Mad Paragon synergizes with all your other Legos and stuff, but I want it. So I'm going to clear out all this stuff here. Consecration damage increased. Seal of the Crusader, Mad Paragon. Bam. Okay, and now let's see how we're doing up here. So we want Freedom, Hammer. I don't know about Ret Aura, but we want to be getting Kick if we're playing Mythic Plus at least. So I would be going here to Fist of Justice. Unfortunate that we need to spend 2 points on it, but it is what it is. And then we go to Kick. We have a little bit too many points here, so we're seeing if there's anything we can remove. I would consider removing Divine Steed Duration. I don't think this is very useful. Divine Steed 2 charges. That's nice. We'll keep it for now. Now, well, we need one of these to get to our wings. Blessing of Sack, and then this is a great talent now that reduces the cooldown of your Blessing of Sack by a minute, which is very, very powerful. Then we want our Bop. We need to work our way down here again. Incandescence is pretty good. It adds some nice damage to our Consecrate, so we'll take this. And now we are sitting here with lots of points deciding what we want to do. So we're looking at what's available. Judgment of Light is pretty powerful. And, oh, this is a very good passive right here. Armor and critical strike chance increase, so we'll take this. And this. After Image could be okay. This is a decent throughput increase. Unbreakable Spirit's nice too. Hard to say no to this one. Let's play. I think for M+ purposes, I would play this. There are lots of other options for raid though. For example, you don't necessarily need to get kick here for raid, so you may decide to go for the extra mobility for Divine Steed. You may decide to go down here for Golden Path and Seal of Mercy just to get more Golden Path healing, but it is what it is for now. So again, we want Consecration damage, Seal of the Crusader, and Zealot's Paragon for M+. And now we have 2 more points. And let's look at our options here. Speed and Avoidance, we don't care about this. This is definitely one that we want. We have to decide between DP or HA. I'll just take DP, but it is what it is. And so now we have 2% haste, or Mastery during Avenging Wrath, or Crusader Strike grants 1% increased intellect for 6 seconds. I feel like 2% permanent haste is probably stronger than this, but both of these are very powerful stat amps that once we get more points, we'll want both of these. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this class tree. And again, if we're in a raid scenario, we can be losing some of these damage talents or these kicks, and we can go for stuff that might be useful situationally, like Golden Path or reduce cooldown of Bop or whatever. Okay. So now we have this part of the tree. So, Glimmer I wouldn't necessarily say is mandatory. I do want to have 1 point in Crusader's Might at least. So we may, let's just see what's going on here. Awakening is very good. There's a lot of good, Paladin has a lot of good stuff down here. Let's play Awakening, and then no, that's it. We only have 5 points. We only have 5 points. We have Divine Toll. And then, yeah, I think we might be stuck with this for now. So this is Improved Wings. This gives us some AoE healing with Beacon of Faith. Then we have, I mean, we have to take 1 point for Divine Toll. Maybe this. Maybe 1 point in Awakening, 1 point in Crusader's Might. Because not having the cooldown reduction on Holy Shock feels pretty bad. I could be very wrong about this. Not sure about this at all. Anyway, let's go up the tree here. So now we have Holy Shock, Holy Light, Light of Dawn, Unending Light. I was actually taking Bestow Faith here. You need to take 8 points in this first block of skills, so I ended up just taking Bestow Faith anyway. Divine Protection. This is, I like Holy Shock increase over the casted heals. When I was playing Paladin, I wasn't hard casting too much. Again, I could be wrong about this, but however, the only hard casting I was doing was this right here. So I was taking Resplendent Light with Divine Favor. And this gives me an option if I want to do a really juicy heal every 45 seconds I can. Word of Glory and Light of Dawn healing increase. That sounds good. Aura Mastery. I don't know if I had this talent. I want to say I skipped out on this one. And then we take Imbued Infusions. We take Light of the Martyr. I think maybe you could get away with not playing Light of the Martyr, but I personally think it's good. 15% crit on Holy Shock is great. Crusader Strike has 2 charges. We need this. Casting Flash of Light on the beacon target grants Holy Power. I think I could do away with this. I don't think this is necessarily mandatory. Light of Dawn has a 10% chance to create a cone of light. We could take this, sure. And then we will remove this Divine Revelations talent. So that leaves us with Commanding Light, Second Sunrise, and Divine Glimpse. And I think I like this. So now we'll go back to what we had before. We'll take Divine Toll, Beacon of Faith, 1 Crusader's Might, Improved Wings, and 1 Awakening. And again, this feels kind of bad because how much you have to give up right now. However, when you start getting your level 70 points, when you're leveling in Shadowlands, this area will feel a heck of a lot better. So there's our Paladin. Now we move on to Shaman. We're halfway done. See what Shaman has to look. Shaman, I think, might look bad as well. They have some very good capstones. Okay, so in the spec tree, We have Swirling Currents, which is very good, but we don't necessarily need this because we have the Conduit. Out of all these buttons, I say Shaman doesn't have great stuff at the bottom. I personally really like Gust of Wind. I would be looking to go for this somehow. Ooh, this is kind of messy here. Reduces the cooldown and increases the duration of Astral Shift. I think I'm going to skip out on this. However, I am going to get Chain Lightning. And again, Chain Lightning is not something you need if you're only raiding. However, in Mythic Plus, definitely a good button. Here, we'll take Earth Shield, Fire, and Ice. Increases all the damage you do. That's pretty good, honestly. Let's skip out on some stuff here. Let's remove some points. Let's take this out of Hex. We'll take this out of Improved Cap Totem, and we'll get a point in Fire and Ice. 3% fire damage is pretty good, considering how much damage we're doing with Lava Burst and Flame Shock. And now, what do we have here? Increases the number of elemental shields you can have active. We don't really care about that. All of these talents you're going to take sometimes in certain situations. You may want Double Cap, you may want Hex, you may want Tremor, but that's all going to be very, very dungeon specific. So I'm kind of just doing like a starter outline, and nothing wrong with subbing out some of these talents as you see fit. Okay, so let's look. So we have this. I think this is good. Reduce cooldowns on totems. Reduce magic damage taken. I don't know if I like this one over Nature's Guardian. I think I would prefer... I'd prefer to have Nature's Guardian somehow. So how do we get down there? Improve Leech and Avoidance by 2%. Windrush, Nature's Guardian. That'll give us a little bit of tankiness. It'll give us some utility with Windrush. And it'll give us Nature's Guardian. So then we have 1 point in Gust of Wind. So here's some new stuff that we have to think about with Shaman is... Number one, this is a passive that's really nice to get. It gives us just a flat 8% HP, and it reduces the cooldown of Ankh, which is very, very nice. We all love Ankh. And on top of that, you can go down to here and get Gust of Wind to give you a like very, very good mobility spell. So now we have 2 points. 1 point, I like a Nature Swiftness. I think Nature Swiftness is just very, very good. Fits into the Shaman kit well. And then, I don't know. None of these other ones look particularly interesting. Swirling Currents is one that we're eventually, when we get more points, we're going to want to go down here because we because these are good spells. But however, we can't really get Ancestral Guidance easily, and also we already have Swirling Currents from our Conduit tree. Mana Spring Totem could be good as well. This is kind of a weird spell, so we kind of wait to see, but in most solo content, you probably don't need it. So I left you with 1 point here. I would say put whatever, whatever utility option that you like, whether you need Frost Shock for explosives, whether you want a better Astral Shift or Tremor or whatever, right? I'll just throw my 1 point into, I don't know. Let's just say Hex, just to give me another annoying keybind that I have to set up. Okay, so now the spec tree. So again, we're looking at what we want at the bottom. And what we want at the bottom is not this, is going to be Ascendance. At least for Mythic Plus, we don't really care about Earth Living Weapon. We want Earthen Harmony and Ascendance. So we're kind of thinking, how do we get down here? So let's start up here. Riptide, Deluge. We're going to need this because we're going to need to go down this way. I'm actually going to switch this out for Acid Rain. In a raid setting, Overflowing Shores is great. In Mythic Plus, I was enjoying Acid Rain. Increases Chain Heal, so we don't really care about this too much. AV is a great spell that we're going to put some points into, and then we can kind of go down here. We may take Stormkeeper, we'll revisit it in a second. We'll go back down to Spirit Link. We want Lava Surge for sure. Let's see. Resurgence is another... So, Resurgence is a spell that's optional. We don't necessarily need this, however, it gives us mana. So depending on how you feel like your mana is, you can or can't take this. But let's go 1, 2, 3. We have no points. Okay, how do we free up some points here? Well, we have Resurgence and we have Mana Tide. Screw Mana Tide. We can skip out on this one. What if we take a Primordial Wave instead? Just a 1-pointer into Primordial Wave, I think is is going to be worth it. On a 45-second cooldown seems very strong to me. Because chances are we probably aren't playing Necrolord Shaman. So I think this is a pretty good endgame. What else do we have here? Undulation is very strong. Echo of Elements is very strong. Torrent. Living Stream. I'm not sure about Living Stream versus Cloudburst. I still probably take Cloudburst just to help a little bit more with the AoE healing and to make it, you know, sort of like more on demand. But I think playing Living Stream would be fine as well. Water Totem Mastery. Consuming tidal waves reduces the cooldown of Cloudburst. Yeah, this will be useful. So let's look at some of the things that we are missing out on. So first of all, in a raid scenario, I don't think you want to go for Ascendance and Earthen Harmony. I would look to go down this area somehow and get to Wellspring. Wellspring is very, very solid in raid, or also Primordial Wave if you're not Necrolord. Getting all the Primordial Wave bonuses is probably going to be pretty strong as well. Definitely once you lose your Covenant, that's going to be very good. I think Primal Tidecore with Ancestral Awakening probably isn't worth the points. I could be wrong, but I don't see this being a good play unless you want like just a very easy passive tree or whatever. But that's how I feel about that. And yeah, so I kind of like this. I won't ramble on too long, but there's definitely, again, lots and lots of choices you can do. A couple things I'm missing here is I don't have a Stormkeeper, which is a little annoying. It's definitely a nice damage boost to your Chain Lightning. And if I felt like my mana was good, I would probably drop Resurgence and bring Stormkeeper. But I also dropped out on Mana Tide, and I also dropped out on Mana Spring. So I think putting one mana ability in my trees. But yeah, Stormkeeper kind of feels bad to pass. But this is a good starter build for now. Alright, let's log on to the last character, but 2 specs, my Priest. I did look at the Priest tree a very little bit, since it was my first character, and I kind of didn't have the idea for the video yet. Okay, so we are on Holy first. So, for Holy, the first thing I notice here is that we have Light's Inspiration. This is junk, and I definitely want to get Divine Star. And we have 1 extra point. I think Holy Power Word Life probably isn't mandatory for Holy Priest, but because we're so limited with our points here, we can't get all these juicer talents. I think a safe option for high keys is just to go for the Fade DR. Another option is to take 1 point in Mind Games. It's probably okay if you're doing lower keys, you're just trying to mess around and blast. So we basically need all of these. We can skip out on Throes of Pain if we want, though. This is going to break our tree a little bit, so let's go all the way up. This is an interesting looking tree. So we have no Dispel Magic, no Improved Purified, no Shadow Word Death. Yeah, we're going to have to rip this tree apart. So I'm taking away Focus Mending, I'm taking away Words of the Pious, and I'm taking away Inspiration for now. And I think we just need to have Improved Purify and Dispel Magic. There are some dungeons where you can get away with not having a Disease Dispel, you know, so if you're doing, actually, to be honest, a lot of these dungeons probably don't need a Disease Dispel. Heck, let's just not play Improved Purify, but just know that you're losing your Disease Dispel and you may need to come back for that at some point. Not having Leap of Faith seems criminal. I definitely love Leap of Faith. I love Mass Dispel, but again, you have these options, right? It sounds silly to take away Mass Dispel, but you know, there's some dungeons where you're literally going to use Mass Dispel 0 times, and it's not so bad to just, you know, remove it to get something else. One thing to note here is this talent setup here is Holy Nova plus Rhapsody. Rhapsody stacks up to 20 times and increases the healing and damage of your Holy Nova. This is pretty strong, and you just have to keep track of this, and whenever you get to 20 stacks, you just press Holy Nova, and it actually does pretty decent, worthy damage and healing. And so now we go down this way. I like Binding Heals. Another thing to note that I learned is that Protective Light, casting Flash Heal on yourself, reduces the damage you take. I believe this currently synergizes with Binding Heals, so whenever you press Flash Heal on anybody, you get 10% DR, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's intended. I'm going to go all the way down here for Power Word Life. We'll take our Divine Star. We'll take our Fade DR. This looks okay. One thing to note, we may want to see if we can fit in Twins of the Sun Priestess. So one thing I might do is take out Throes of Pain, put one in Twins of the Sun Priestess. I don't know how our mana is going to be. Maybe we could take both of these out of Throes of Pain. We have other options here. We could take Improve Mass Dispel. We could improve our Prayer of Mending. We could take Shadow Word Death. I'll leave it with 1 point in here just because, just to give us a little bit of mana, but I could definitely see just completely removing this one if we feel like our mana is good. And this, I think, is a better direction for playing Holy Priest and M+, and I think I would play something very, very similarly in Raid. Some changes I would make in Raid is I would remove some stuff that was oh, hold on. So we have this right here. Hold on. So we have Sheer Terror, which I think this is another waste of a point. We don't want this. So what are our other options here? Let's take Shadow Word Death. We'll take Shadow Word Death instead of Sheer Terror. I think that's a waste of a point. But we do, I mean, again, right, who knows? We may need to take Shackle Undead. We may need to take Disease Dispel. So let's call this our flex point right here. And if we wanted to take either just buff our Prayer of Mending, if we feel like it's Bursting Week and we want to have Improved Mass Dispel. Improved Mass Dispel is actually nasty, by the way. If it's ever like a situation where you want to use Mass Dispel a lot, it's very, very good. So we have 2 flex points, actually. We have 1 in Throes of Pain and we have 1 in Shadow Word Death. That could go anywhere. All right, let's look at the class tree. So you have 3 different options. So the build that I'm going to be playing on live, I think, and this is like the thing that I've been thinking about a little bit, is I think Boon is going to be back. This is a little bit of a silly synergy, but the way this spell reads right here, Divine Word, it basically gives you a buff on your next Holy Word, depending on what it is. And when you use Chastise, it gives you a flat-out 50% damage buff for 15 seconds. I think what the play is going to be, if you're playing Holy Priest on live and you're trying to push high keys, is you play Divine Word, you Chastise with the buff, and then you Boon and you do a zillion damage. I think you move away from Night Fae and you start playing this. However, it's going to be different on Dragonflight because you're not going to have Boon. Also, not everyone cares about damage. So you have 2 different options to go if you don't want to do this. The first option is to go down this way right here. Desperate Times is kind of junk, but it's there. And then you can take Lightweaver. Lightweaver is like the replacement to Flash Concentration. Since we're playing in Prepatch, I don't see a point of this, but this might be a build that you run if you're more healing focused. If you want to play a healing focused build in Prepatch, what you would do is go down to this side of the tree, which you get Miracle Worker. And this is a PvP talent, or a previous one that gave you another charge of Serenity and Sanctify, which is very, very good. And so you're really thinking about which of these capstones you want to get. A lot of these passives are kind of whatever. They'll see more value once Shadowlands goes away, like, you know, just like I was saying, right? Lightweaver is a passive, but it's nowhere near Flash Concentration, so it's kind of like pointless now. Resonant Words, again, this is already a conduit, so you don't care about this, but this is a great conduit. And once the conduit system goes away, you're definitely going to want to consider it. So now that we have this bottom part, let's see how we work up. So first of all, I don't like Prayer of Mending bounces. I don't like this. Prayer of Mending. We're taking our power away from Prayer of Mending and putting it somewhere else. And where we're putting it is our DPS, because we're playing Mythic Plus. So we're going to go Holy Word, Chastise, Burning Vehemence, Imperial Blaze. This is going to be your new way to DPS as Holy Priest. Every 30 seconds, you can machine gun 3 Holy Fires in a row. Well, I guess 4, because you probably have a Holy Fire at some point during that. On top of that, Holy Fire extends itself, so even on single target, it's totally fine to just machine gun Holy Fire onto one target. You also have this talent here that buffs your Holy Fire, which is very, very nice. And this is going to be a big part of your M+. Honestly, I think even in Raid, you might consider taking this too, because in my opinion, it's worth it. DPS playstyle. So there's that. We still want to take Guardian Angel, I think. We're still taking Sanctify. I'm actually skipping out on Circle of Healing. And I'm skipping out on Sanctified Prayers. Cosmic Ripple is a small heal anytime your Holy Words come back. I've been keeping this. We'll take Afterlife as well. And maybe not. Let's see. Healing on allies with Renew is increased. So Enlightenment gives us 10% flat mana regen, and it's very, very nice. But In order to get it, we need to take this talent, which I don't necessarily like. So I'm kind of ripping up the tree here quite a bit. This is not very good as well, in Mythic Plus at least. So we have lots and lots of points. We need to spend 5. However, this talent right here improves the crit chance of flash heal, and heal is very, very good. So we want to try and find a way to get this. So heal restores up to 15% based on your missing mana. That's fine. And then we take this. So now we only need 2 points. Where we put these 2 points is up to you, depending on your situation of how you feel. If you feel like mana is tough, you can go here, right? You can take Renewed Faith, you can take Enlightenment, that's going to give you that 10% mana buff. If you want to play the Chastise Stun, you can take this. If you wanted to maybe, you know, press Circle of Healing or whatever, you can you can take these talents as well. But for the most part, I'm kind of avoiding this part of the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play Circle of Song. But keep in mind, these are flex points, right, guys? If we wanted to play any of these other stuff, we can play them. I just put my points in Circle of Song. And then now, going back here, right, we'll take our Apoth. Unfortunately, we need to put 2 points in either one of these in order to get down to Divine Word for our build. It is what it is. And then we have 1 extra point for whatever we want to put down here. Critical heals increase the healing of the next Holy Word. This one's okay. Desperate Times is okay. None of these are really that impactful. I'm going to put 1 into Desperate Times, but again, we're just kind of putting into whatever passive we see fit. And yeah, that's my first impression of what I would do for Holy Priest. Again, if you don't really care as much about damage, what you can free up a lot of points by taking these 2 points away and taking these 3 points away, and then going down this way and getting Miracle Worker. Probably what I would do. Okay, last but not least is Disc Priest. Unfortunately, Evoker's not out, so we're not talking about Evoker. Let's see what the Disc Priest starter build is like. First of all, Power Word Life. They've been buffing the spell over and over in beta and in pre-patch. This, I think, is a really, really good spell for Disc Priest now. This will help out your spot healing a lot. This, to me, seems very, very straightforward. 1 point in Divine Star, 1 point in Mind Games. It's unfortunate that we don't have Fade DR, but these spells are so good, especially for Disc Priest, that we just want them. And then we're kind of pinned in to have all of these. We're pinned in to have these. Do we want this? Reduces your target's physical damage with a crit heal. Don't really care about that too much. And again, right, we collapse our tree, and we don't, like, it's whatever, but... For 12 seconds after casting Power Word Shield, you gain damage of Smite and Holy Nova. I don't think this one is particularly good. I would probably put a point into Mass Dispel again. Leap of Faith again. Yeah, some of these starter builds I don't quite understand. I think they're just trying to reduce the number of keybinds, if that makes sense. They're not giving us stuff like Leap of Faith and Math Dispel, but they're giving us like Sheer Terror, even though that is just strictly incorrect in my opinion. And yeah, we definitely want Twins as a Disc Priest. So let's go all the way up here. We need 1 more point. Let's take Dispel Magic. Again, right, a lot of this utility on Priest is very, very situational, right? There's going to be some dungeons where you never press Mass Dispel, where you never press Dispel Magic, where you never press Shackle Undead, you know? So if you really want to min-max, you can decide what you take. And honestly, in some of the raid situations, you can avoid taking all of it. And let's go Binding Heals, Surge, Power Word Life. Bam. Very similar to our Holy Priest tree, I assume. For Discipline, I like having Mind Games better, just because it's doing healing too. So I think it's worth spending these points. This spell is not super great, but yeah, it is. Okay, so now let's look at the disc stuff. The build that I was playing was like the Super Machine Gun Penance build. So what I was playing was, when Atonement Healing has healed a total of 200 times, your next penance is free and fires a bunch of bolts. So I was playing this talent right here. I think this is a very fun build. It's pretty good because you just, like, healing 100 times with Atonement Healing is very easy if you just press Radiance and you have Shadow Word Pains up or Purge the Wicked. So I was playing this. Unfortunately, there's a ton of good buttons down here that we can't get yet, but we will be able to get at some point. So, Smite reduce the cooldown of Penance. We like having this. We're going to take 1 point in Sins of the Many, but we would love to take 2 points. We would also love to get Aegis of Wrath that buffs our power word shield. We would also love to get Twilight Equilibrium. Maybe, I'm not sure the math on this, but it might be worth it to take Twilight Equilibrium over Sins of the Many, but I don't know, you guys do the math. Okay, so now we're taking Castigation because we're playing this Penance build. Stolen Psyche, this looks like junk, so we're not going to be taking this. Casting Power Word Shield increases your haste. This is good because we're pressing Power Word Shield a lot. Purge the Wicked deals additional damage and spreads more. This is a great talent. This is going to help us cleave for sure. Contrition is kind of like a flex talent. If I remember, I had like 0 or 1 point in that. Exaltation increases Rapture. I don't necessarily think this is necessary. I was not putting a point there. Increased damage from Shadow Word Pain and Purge the Wicked. So I was not playing a Shadow Covenant build. I would recommend as you're starting off as Disc Priest that you kind of avoid the Shadow Covenant stuff. In my, like the Shadow Covenant and the Mindbender stuff, the Mindbender like AoE damage talents or whatever, I found this build to be much more simple and still pretty effective. If you do want to dabble into that stuff, that's fine, but you know, again, this is just my preferences. So you have Rapture, Purge the Wicked. So I actually switched to Bright Pupil, reduce the cooldown of Power Word Radiance. I find that this synergizes really well with this Harsh Discipline. With a short cooldown on Radiance, you just have Radiance up so often. So not only is it healing your group, but you're doing a lot of atonement healing. And this might be a controversial one, but unless you're very comfortable as Disc Priest, I would consider playing Shield Discipline for a little while. Because they changed the way Power Word Shield works, you actually get comparable amounts of mana with Shield Discipline as opposed to Solace. Honestly, you'd probably get better mana. Solace is nice, though, because it's a damage button that you can press while moving, and it kind of smooths out your rotation. However, just for starters, for Keybind Bloat, for ease of use, I think Shield Discipline is not that bad. Penance extends the duration of Shadow Word Pain. We don't care about that too much. Schism is a freebie. We only need 1 point, and we can get Schism. So normally Schism competes with Twist of Fate, but we'll be able to take Twist of Fate all the time. And so that's an easy 1-pointer. Power of the Dark Side, we love this. Make Amends. This does not seem very good. Skip this. And yeah, so here we are. So we have 2 points that we can get. I was talking about flex points earlier. So the 2 flex points that I was using are Pain Suppression cooldown reduction, because I think this actually makes Pain Suppression very powerful. And then we can take Malicious Intent as well. I don't know really how much damage this is going to add, and sometimes you do actually heal with Penance on harder to heal fights, so Contrition isn't too bad either. Honestly, this last talent is kind of like whatever. This could go almost anywhere. And then, yeah, again, we're going to the same thing, right? We'll take Lenience, we'll take Harsh Discipline, and then we're kind of taking Train of Thought, and then just 1 in Sins of the Many. I don't really know how strongly I feel about this, but sort of my experimental idea with a simple Disc Priest build to get you used to healing. And then, okay, so let me clarify too. I'm not even going to talk about Raid, because Raid Discipline is like a lot different from M+. So if you're looking to like Raid with the spec, I would consult the Discords and actually figure out what to play. I would not listen to me at all, but this is my, for the most part, like the other classes, it's more straightforward. How would you convert to a Raid build? You're basically just stripping out your damage talents and trying to go for the more AoE, like capstone oriented stuff. But yeah, that wraps up that. It was a little longer than I wanted to, but I guess I had to talk about 6 different classes, and we kind of we did it off the cuff. We didn't even know what the starter builds were like, so hopefully that gave you guys an idea of how I'm thinking about the talents in pre-patch, and what sorts of things I think are good, what sorts of things I'm avoiding. If you guys have any builds or things that you think I'm doing terribly wrong, feel free to drop them in the comments, and you can say, hey, this guy's an idiot, here's the actual build, and then all you guys will upvote it, and then you'll know. So check the comments as well to see if your class was butchered. But take it easy, friends. I appreciate you guys watching. If somehow you made it this far, and happy keying.